Hey, everybody, this is Royal with Paternity University. I'm here with Alexandria Edwards of the Care Girl and Senior Care Providers. This is the Skills Make You Meals segment. I haven't had one in a while because I like to interview people who are like really on it, that I get to know over time and can engage some sort of trust. So we got Alexandria on just to talk about her journey in starting a home healthcare business. So Alexandria, can you give a little bit of background on yourself?
Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you for having me, Royal Banks. I admire the work that you do on the DNA side, and I love seeing your tweets. And I know we met on Twitter. So absolutely, I can tell you a little bit about myself. So I am originally born in Georgia, raised in Memphis, Tennessee. So you'll hear a little Southern come out. But I moved to Georgia back in 2010, actually, because I was a singer-songwriter dancer, right? You probably didn't see that on my profile or anything because I took a lot of that down. But I've always had a medical background. I went to school for LPN, University of Memphis, and basically, like, I fell in love with just taking care of people. And the first doctor that I actually worked for back in Memphis, which I hunted her down for the job because I was like, I went to college and I want to make sure that I use this. And like, I was one of them people like, no, if I went to school for this, I'm going to go and get I'm going to go and get the job. So I got this job with this Black neurologist. Her name is Dr. Tia Brown. She's in Atlanta now, which is very ironic. And I was her office manager at 19. So I learned how to operate a business. I did her deposits. Like, I ran her whole operation when she wasn't even there at 19 years old. So I guess I got a feel of how to run a business at that early age. And that set me up for entrepreneurship, which I didn't know. So I became a neurotech as well under her due to I was writing the checks for her neurotech, and he was making more money than me. And I was like, how is he making more money than me? And I wasn't making as much as the office manager and, her personal, LPN. So basically she was like, well, I can get him to teach you to do the skill, but I'm not gonna pay you. I pay him because basically I'm paying for continuing education for you. So I was like, cool. So learn the skill, and that was like my first taste of like, gaining more skills can make you more money, right? Because I had already did the college thing. I was like, okay, I want to just keep building my skills. And when I moved to Georgia, I was able to, obtain a nice neurotech job and do my music on the side. But I work for this lab, and I had so many people like just love my personality. And in that time, between that time, my mom moved in to help my grandmother because my grandmother had been neglected several times in the home while people were trying to come in and take care of her, different agencies and stuff. And she was in Greenville, Mississippi. And a little background about my grandmother is she was the first Black congresswoman in Mississippi. She marched with Martin Luther King, and she has a street named after her. So she's super, high integrity, and she will call defects on you in a minute. So she's very, if you're not taking care of me properly, I'm very vocal about it, which I always loved about her. But I just didn't feel good about how those home care agencies had really no concern about her being left alone. Eventually she became Total Care. I don't know if you know anything about multiple sclerosis, but you basically kind of, if you don't catch it soon enough, it becomes like where you're totally dependent on someone else to take care of you. Hence my mother, retiring early and taking care of her because they couldn't find any viable companies to come in and do the care for them. So when I spoke to her one day and it just dawned on me, I said, wow, like this is something that is very major. So I didn't know enough about the care industry to do it by myself. So I went into business with another young lady who I grew up with, and she was a private duty caregiver for a long, long time, manager of a lot of behavioral facilities and things of that nature. So I was entertainment, I was in medical, I was performing all over at the time. And I just felt it in my spirit to do. And it's funny because my name means helper of man. Alexandria means helper of man. So I guess it's kind of like an ordained thing. Cause I was like, God, like, no, I'm not, that's not for me. But people just kept coming and asking me, do you know anybody who takes care of people? Because my grandmother, I had so many requests. So I was like, okay, well, this is apparently something that I'm supposed to do. So it was always like something on the side until COVID hit. As everyone knows, like everybody had kind of like a shift happen, and
Yeah.
me being part-time in a hospital, then having children, and they went totally like they closed all the schools. I had to just go into my home care business full time.
Okay.
So, and at that time, that's when I realized that's when the company exploded, and it just started making, more money than I, thought it would. And it already surpassed my neurotech salary. It already has surpassed it. So I just was like, oh, I got extra money, and I don't even have to go in and help anybody or anything. I'm the middle person. So I don't know if y'all familiar with home care. Home care is in Atlanta, it's called private home care license. So I basically send caregivers and nurses out to the homes to take care of people who cannot take care of themselves, such as medically fragile children and elderly as well. And then we also do some wound care as well. So we have skilled nursing, and then we have the home health aid side. So that's me in a nutshell. It's way more to it, but I know you have more questions. So
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I was going to ask, first off, I was going to ask, what is a neurotech? I'm assuming that it's something similar to maybe a dental tech. Like, you got the people who kind of operate the machinery, and then of course the doctor oversees everything, oversees the operations. But what is a neurotech to start off with for the people who may not know?
oh yeah, okay. So I do get that a lot. So a neurotech is somebody who runs the technology for neurologists, neurosurgeons. Like we are the side person, the right hand. So we do all of the studies for them, and it's a very unique job because a lot of people don't know about it, but they pay very well, I would say. And I did it for like 14 years. So I mean,
Okay.
I still have neurologists calling me today, hey, would you be willing to, and I'm like, oh, well, this is my fee now, so they're not willing to pay that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much like retired at this point, unless somebody gives me an offer I can't refuse. But I value my time, and I like what I do here.
Yeah, for sure. So how does someone get into the home healthcare business? Is that, like you said, you're a middle person, right? But is that something that somebody needs to have a degree or a certification for to do home healthcare?
Good question. No, not at all. I mean, I've seen people who don't have any type of medical background at all. I've seen them get into home care. So basically, you would have to look up your state regulations, or like I do consulting. They could contact me to do the research and actually show them a plan on how they can get their license. I even do the full licensing package and everything. But I do have a program that I'm a part of. I have two gentlemen, that one guy does all of the license and the waivers. I teach you how to operate and run a successful agency, and another guy actually teaches you the real estate piece, which is called the seven figure carepreneurs program. So basically, that's rolling out soon. So anybody who wants to do a home care, anybody who is looking to do that, we actually have it's a school. It'll be for 12 months, and you'll have your licenses getting worked on while you're in the program. And we just it's such a need. It's like maybe my mom's turning 65
Mm.
in June. So it's so many people like turning 65. It's 10,000 people turning 65 this year alone. Like it's so many people that's going to need care, and it's the industry is just it's a bottomless pit.
Yeah, it's always going to be needed. It's one of those things that, like you said, Generation X is over the next, 10 years. Generation X is, my mom's generation, right? And so they're entering their 60s or in their 60s, and they will be over the next 10 years, they'll be entering further into their 60s or 70s where they're going to have home health care. So question is home health care something that is, a person's insurance covers, or do they have to pay out of pocket? What's the difference between a home health care, I guess you sending out nurses to them, and I guess them being in what is it, inpatient in a hospital or a hospice or something of that nature? What's the difference in those two that that you're doing with the home health care?
So home care, I would say, is aging in place. So if it were me and I needed care in my home, in my home, I would want to do that at my home versus being inside of a facility. Now,
Mm.
if someone needs like total care, or they have dementia where it's uncontrollable to where it's like they may be like trying to escape the home and all that. Now that's when you look for in facility care, or mom may stay in a whole nother state and you don't have the room to bring her there. Then that's when we talk about going into a independent living with a little bit of assistance. But I always say in-home care is the best option if none of those things are happening. Insurance does pay for in-home care. Most of the times it doesn't though, unless you have like a state Medicaid waiver, or you may have like the private pay. So I always say plan to be the one to pay for care, or plan to be the one to do your mom or dad's care. Um, or it could be your wife or whatever. You have to plan for those times, because you don't know what the health is going to look like, and you can have long-term care insurance. And so the insurance piece is major, knowing how to prepare and stack your insurances for any event that home care is needed, because home care can be run $10,000 to $20,000 a month, depending upon if you need nurses. Just a home health day. We had a guy recently pass, and we had him for about 4 years. He's Parkinson's disease, and Parkinson's disease basically eventually shuts down your entire nervous system. So he was 7 days care, and he was about $10,000 a month.
Oh my God.
But he had a long-term care insurance plan, which they reimbursed the family for all of that care. So they weren't out of pocket at all, but they planned, early on, like, this is what we need to do. So I think that what I see a lot of is families do not plan. They think mom and dad is going to be healthy forever, and they don't factor in that maybe we need to have some type of insurance that covers it, because Medicare, that red, white, and blue card, it doesn't cover home care. It does not cover home care at all. So I think that a lot of people are confused. They're like, oh, I turn 65, I get Medicare. That will cover you if you go in a nursing home, and which we know the state of nursing homes right now.
Yeah.
We know the state of nursing homes.
Wow. So that in a sense is, I wouldn't say, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't say it's necessarily estate planning, but it's just elderly care planning, something to think about, as children of our parents, to start planning 5 to 10 years ahead of time. Like, how are we going to take care of you? Especially just nowadays, it's just, things are, you don't want to, yeah, some people don't have no problem just putting their mama and daddy in a doggone nursing home and just letting them rot. That's the way they feel. But if you want to have that, I guess, personalized care in the home where the person feels more comfortable, then yeah, you're right. You have to plan for that. So what is the business aspect of it from your end, starting the business? Like, what all did you have to invest in yourself and the business to get started and kind of keep going in the years afterwards?
So I do have mentors in the field, and I do paid information. Any of those, they have big seminars every year, and I just stay ahead of all of it, because it's always changing. Healthcare is always changing. Things are always changing. So I'm really big on personal growth. I'm really big on just always keeping that information going. And then I'm a part of like some masterminds as well, like with people who have billion-dollar companies, and I kind of like, I'm able to like call on them when I have questions. In the business side, basically you have to set up your office. Once you get your license, you need your office space. You could be from home, or like I have a co-work space. So I like the flexibility of that. Then you hire your staff, and you start letting people know, hey, I'm open. You have your website and all that, and that's where the Care Girl agency comes in as well. So I have a healthcare. I do market digital agency. So I do digital marketing for healthcare providers and healthcare entrepreneurs, especially home care, because I basically do the sales and marketing for this company. I'm not only owner, but I do all of the digital side as well. Being millennial, I love that side, but I also do the in-person as well. So I'm pretty much involved. Will I be involved in the next maybe 2 years or so? I think I always will be involved, but I won't be as involved, because I will be towards just getting more assets as far as like in the business, eventually like maybe add some software or stuff
Right.
like that. So it's so many pillars to this. You have your home care, then you can get you a care home, then you can get you a facility. So the more money you make, the more assets you can gain in this arena as well. And I also do have a CPR training academy as well. So everything I do is now like more, it's all healthcare related, but it's I love what I do because I help a lot of nurses transition into entrepreneurship as well. I've had so many distressed nurses come to me and they're like, how can I get into this? So I've actually like coached them and helped them get through getting their license and all of that. And then, I mean, to their first client, to becoming successful and being able to leave their job, because a lot of times the healthcare arena doesn't allow you, like working in the hospitals, the flexibilities of being a mother or being a wife, and you're choosing between one or the other, and and you can only make so much, you have all these student loans, and I've had CNAs transition into having their own home care company as well. So it's not only for the nurses and in the medical professionals, it's for those people who may have been under, because they treat the CNAs and PCAs at the lowest when they're viable to everybody. So I say, if you've been a CNA 20 years, you need to figure their entry to this business is less than 5K, I would say, by yourself. Now, if you want a professional to come in and help you run everything and you learn, it's a little bit more of an investment, I would say. But just to get the license, it's not more than it shouldn't be more than 5K to do that. And to set everything up, your virtual office, all that good stuff. But I always say, if you're going into a business, you should have a coach or somebody who has success in that company to help you speed up the process of profiting quicker.
Yeah. So 2 questions for you. So when you say hiring staff, starting off, is this in a sense hiring either CNA contractors or I guess independent healthcare contractors or nurses to go out to the homes to take, like, is that W-2? Is that like 1099? Like you're hiring contractors to do this and you're paying them a set hourly fee, no health insurance, none of that stuff, no 401k, obviously, because you're just starting off. You don't have the funds to be able to cover somebody's probably healthcare and 401k plan. But are you hiring independent contractors to go out to these homes? Is that how you're starting it?
So W-2. So
Okay.
in the state of Georgia, you cannot have independent contractors that are caregivers. Now, now all the nurses are 1099. That's what they prefer. That's so if you're it's a one piece where you can be a non-medical agency where you just do that companion care, which means, hey, Paul is by himself all day. I need you to come in 8 hours and keep him busy. Make sure he takes his medication. That's more of companion care where they're still getting around by themselves. But when you move into, the bathing and you move into just really like they're overwhelmed, they have a diagnosis like a chronic disease. That's when you're looking at more of the nursing side of things and when it changes. But a lot of people operate on non-medical more than they would skilled. But I like the skilled part because those the skilled nurses and everything, they'll show up versus sometimes you do have issues and fluctuation of caregivers, moving from job to job, because you got to think about it, depending upon the amount that they're getting paid. They're getting paid $20,000 to $30,000 a year, which is not enough to survive off of. And that's why I like doing the skilled, and that way I can pay my unskilled more money. That way, you're still serving those companion care cases and you still have that skilled nursing. So that's why I say it's a strategy to it to succeed in it, because it could be a lot if you're just dependent on the non-medical side, but those waivers actually pay pretty good too. So it really depends. It really depends on that. You said you had another question?
Yeah, well, that led into another question, which didn't lead, because that's how. So how do you vet? Because you're sending people to people's homes, and you hear the horror stories every once in a while of a caregiver just completely mistreating somebody. So do you do background checks? Vet them, see the whites of their eyes, types of thing. How do you vet your caretakers?
So in-home care, private home care in Georgia is really it's state regulated. So the license is state regulated. So we have a fingerprint system that we have to go through all of that in order for the caregiver to be able to work there. So it's here, and then I also do reference checks. They can't have any violent crimes. They can't have any financial, as far as like I think like bank fraud. Like it's certain things that you now if you have a misdemeanor, like something minor, then it may be okay, but you still you don't want to you can't hire anybody with like any type of felonies. And you want to make sure you check out those references and everything too. And I pretty much I have a good flow of hiring. We still need to see you face to face. I still need to see you, feel your energy. And I had them do like a personality test and all that. And a lot of things that I'm a little more extensive. A lot of agencies are doing it backwards. They get the client and then they get the caregiver. So they're desperate for the caregiver versus they have a pool to pick from already vetted. And if you're offering them way more money, you say, hey, this caregiver, this care starts in 2 weeks. Are you able to, we already vetted you. We already have this, we have that. So what you do is you're gonna, if they're currently working somewhere, if they want to come with you, then you basically will negotiate, their fees, especially if they're good. I like older caregivers. I like creating partnerships with colleges who have medical students who really they don't really want to get paid. They really want to just they want to do the work. They want it on their resume. They enjoy working with people. So I would always say if you're near any college, those are your good caregivers. Those students, they have the energy. Especially the medical type students. That is the ideal caregiver. I wouldn't say that someone it's some caregivers in the field right now who's been in it for a little bit of time and they don't have a real passion for it. If you don't have a real passion for it, I'm not feeling that. Everybody's not a good hire. So I just say you just have to figure out what your core values are as a company. What your standards are, if that person's late to the interview or they don't show up or, that's an example of how they're gonna treat your client. So if they're not treating you well as the employer, then how are they gonna treat your client? And then I always do check-ins with the client, hey, how's my young lady performing? How's that going? And, that's basically what I see works for me. And it's just really having a employee or a team member success journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though this business is recession proof or recession resistance?
We made more money during COVID.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
We had a lot of people that needed care after COVID because you still have a long COVID. You have all that going on. So they're on oxygen tanks. There's, we've so many calls just going in and help. And, we would have all our gear on and go in and help. And and then it's still so many people that need help and need care. It's overwhelming, to be honest. And a lot of it's a shortage of care homes as well. That's why I say, like I said, that program that we will be rolling out is going to be essential because it's bringing you in to do the home care license, and then you're going to end with having your own property for your care for the care as well. So I think that this field has been, like I said, I left my 9 to 5 doing this full time. It takes grit, it takes time. But like I said, for me, I know now, like having the mentors that I have now, it's skyrocketed when I just really focus in on these companies. Keep in mind, I'm an entertainer. I like to sing, I like to dance, but I had to say, okay, this is something that's going to be generational and passed down to your children. So I did the entertainment thing for years. I mean, since I was like 6 years old. So, my mom's a singer. So it's always going to be like a hobby that I do, but the lifestyle that was leading to, it wasn't what I wanted to be. So I think for me, this right here, something you could sell your company.
That was my next question. I was like, I've seen people exit these, is this a sellable business? That was exactly what I was going to say. I was going to ask.
Yeah, it is a sellable business. You can sell it and restart it and keep going.
Mm,
if you wanted to do. I would say I've seen a lot of people do that,
mm,
because if you don't get yourself out of the operation soon enough, it will be a stressful situation.
yep,
So really knowing how to navigate and choose great team members is essential to your business, of actually being profitable, and you're not having to be the person working inside of it all the time.
yep, yep, yep. That makes sense. Yeah, removing yourself from day to day. I mean, obviously, you as the CEO or however you want to title yourself, you focus on business development, strategy, long-term marketing, and how to obtain more clients. But yeah, like day-to-day stuff, remove yourself from, and so that makes your business more selling. Because I was going to ask, like, are there, private equity firms or private equity firms focused on healthcare that are like buying up
Oh,
smaller home
absolutely.
businesses?
I get
Yeah.
emails all the time. Yeah, because
Mhm.
this is a good asset to have.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what they're buying them. They're buying them left and right. But they want you to have a certain amount of clients, I believe,
Sure.
or just like to be at a certain point. But I had somebody at one point that's like, well, we just looking for the license, and somebody who already has a waiver, and they were willing to give you a couple of $1,000s, but they're buying them up. But see, you got to pay attention to the market. Why are they buying all these home care?
Yeah. Yeah. Because they know the future. They know they got insights. They got data. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't have data. So it's just that's so dope.
They don't have, yeah, they don't have the data. And I always tell those owners, so sometimes they're like, well, I need the money right now. I'm like, well, what can you do
Right.
to inject money into your company for it to be successful? Because if they're wanting your company, they're gonna do is inject capital into the market, and that's all they're gonna
Yeah.
do. They're not
And
gonna
I mean,
they're
just
not gonna care like you. They're not gonna beat you.
yeah, some private equity firms are just soulless. Like it's all just numbers on a spreadsheet, and they're trying to increase profit margins, and they may not care about the people that you're caring for. I mean, shoot, and like what Master P said when Jimmy Iovine from Interscope was trying to give him a deal for, I think, $1 million or something like that. He was like, if this guy's trying to give me $1 million, what am I truly worth? So if a private equity firm is trying to give you $500,000 for your home care agency, that means it's worth more. It's really worth more than that.
Hmm.
It truly is worth more than that. It's just that you'd have to, systemize it to make it worth more than that. Because that means they're going to take that 500,000 and turn it to 20 million. You know what I mean? Because they know what to do. So very interesting. Very, I think my uncle, who goes by the same name as me, he has the same name as me. I
Oh
think
my goodness.
he had a home healthcare. He either had or has a home healthcare business, and has had one probably since like 2005 or something. Like
Does he like it?
the last time I talked to him, yeah, he was like, yeah, I have a client who like lives in Dubai or something, and he'd be in Dubai sometimes doing stuff, or he was like healthcare adjacent, like nurse adjacent.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you a nurse? And he's like, nah, like I just employ a bunch of nurses and I send them to people's homes to take care of people. And I was like,
Yep.
this is like 2006. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, so this is how you pay for your house? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a nice house, but you're also, ultimately caring for people. So one of my last questions for you, I mean, it's kind of in the name as well, but what makes a good home care business? Like, what sets a good home care business aside from a mediocre or even a bad one?
Um, Not to focus on the money.
Mm,
Number one, if you focus on the team and the quality of the care, the money will come. So really, so a lot of like the new home care owners that I've been helping, they have the passion. They love it. They wanna succeed in it. That's the basics of what you should have. And if you're not a people person, if you're not a person who, it can be for introverts as well. So it doesn't have to be just for somebody who's just extroverted, but you just still have to have that overall love and care for a person. And then
sure.
you also have to identify, what your niche is. Some people, you may be memory care, you may be
Mm,
all nursing care, you may be pediatric autism care.
mm,
Really, just finding your niche, just like how you do with the DNA paternity testing. Just finding your niche, and owning it, and not being afraid to tell people about it.
Mm.
And the mediocre part is, you're just copying what everybody else is doing. Being the sameness is something you want to avoid. And if you want to have different results than other people in the same industry, because there's a lot of companies out there that do what we do, but it just really depends on like what you as a person want to see in your company, and just really doing a research on what is missing. I do a lot of window shopping. I do a lot of cold calling, and a lot of just like secret shopping, if you would say, for other companies to see, okay, how soon are they sending me an email about care if I'm asking about care for my mysterious grandmother or something.
Market research, market research.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about research. You really have to be interested, and because it shows if you're not. If you're not, you have to be obsessed. You kind of have to be. You have to learn. Like you have to. If you're in it for the money, people are gonna see right through you.
That was gonna be my last question, I guess, and then leading up to, like, how do you obtain clients? Is it referral based? Is it the client's family calling you on a Google page they came across and they contact you and say and they ask you the standard questions? How are you obtaining clients? What are the funnels in which you're obtaining clients?
So I always say you are your original funnel. You remember I was telling you that guerrilla marketing? So it's a combination of community outreach, your digital online presence matters. That's why I made myself as a care girl, because I was on a mastermind and this lady was like, and it was crazy. It was a $high mastermind. I got in for free. It was so wild. But she was like a big brand person for like a major magazine in New York, and she was doing Instagram, IG audit. So at the time, I had home care, dance, singing. I had all that on my page. And she said, "Whose page is this?" And I said, "It's mine." She said, "I don't know what you do." I said, "Well, this is what I do. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm multi-talented. This is and that, and I'm a business owner." And she said, "Well, what makes you money?" And I told her home care. And she said, "Your home care."
Focus on that.
She said, "Yep." So I think some people get caught up in trying to be multiple things when you make that first thing that you do, that business. If you're a new entrepreneur, let that be successful first. And I get it, if you have those different services, that's fine, include that. But you have to make something the main thing in order to get to the next thing. And some people are just trying to do 50 million things at one time. Because ultimately, you want a company that's a part of your asset arsenal.
Yes.
Because this company will buy my next asset, which will be more of a passive income. How you may get an Airbnb, you may get a real estate, you may do something. So this should fuel all that stuff. But if it's the main issue, you should make. If you want to succeed, this has to be what you do for that whole year. And once you've done it, you can hire you for $80,000.
Yeah.
Then you move on to your next project, because it's shiny object syndrome. I've been there. I've done that. Yep. And when I fully zone in and focus, because it's a very interesting field. I love my little elderly people, and my little pediatric kids. It's very interesting, but it could seem boring to some who they're paying attention to everybody. You really have to kind of like zone in. So let me go back to what that question you said. So you have your Google listing, you have your website optimization, SEO. And the best form of finding a client is having them find you through another client that you've done an excellent service on. Word of mouth is everything. I have a whole like LinkedIn strategy. I have several strategies on getting clients, but the main thing is, if your service is crap, ain't nobody coming back. So really focusing on knowing this business. Even if you're not a nurse, you should know the details of, if the client has dementia, what that caregiver is going through, and what the caregiver you should hire should look like, and what training they need to have. Because if you've never been in the medical field, this is going to all be foreign to you, and you're not going to be able to articulate yourself to the client. So that may mean you need a long-term CNA who may come alongside you to do those visits or do those Zooms with those clients, potential clients. You may have to understudy somebody who has a running agency. It's okay to ask for help, or pay for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Like, you might be the owner, but you may not be you know, you hire the professionals to conduct the task for you. You're just overseeing the entire, but you still need to have a basis of knowledge at the very least, so that if you're having a conversation, you know, let's just say you're having a B2B conversation, a business to business conversation with somebody who wants to send you referrals, who wants to send you people, you at least need to be able to have the conversation about your client's needs or something like that. You can't just be like, well, I don't know. Like you said, they're gonna be like, well, no, we're not. You
Well,
know,
and it's okay not to know. Say, hey, you know, have somebody call with a rare condition you've never heard of. You say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get my nurse, because you do have to have a nurse on staff
there
if
you
you're
go.
doing medical. So I'll get my nurse on the call back. I don't know exactly the condition. I'm not familiar with it. So not knowing is okay, but acting like you know and you sounding crazy, that's something you want to avoid, because
Yeah,
they'll be like, oh, don't call that company. They don't know what they're
yeah, they can see right through that because they know
doing.
themselves. Yeah. So Alexandria, where can we find you, your website, any information about yourself so that people can reach out to you to learn more about this business?
Since we're on YouTube, my YouTube is the Care Girl TV official. That's where all my podcast stuff is, and I'll be doing more care related things as well. Thecaregirl.com, that's where my blog lives. And I interview healthcare leaders on there, and just care professionals. Instagram, I am the Care Girl _ and that program I told you about, which I'll send you the links to all that later whenever you're ready to do that, is the 7figurecarepreneurs.com. And on Twitter, I'm the Care Girl. So type in the Care Girl, you'll find me somewhere.
Yeah, that branding, the constant branding is very smart.
Yeah, well, I never thought about talking about it on Twitter until I spoke to one of my friends. You probably know him. He does the notary. He's in Atlanta too. And he was
Yeah.
like, you never talk about it on Twitter. You just need to go ahead and start talking about it. So I just ended up, and I actually got some clients that reached out to me on there. So
There you go.
just really talking about what you do all the time. Like, somebody's gonna call you. I was just
Build in public.
off the strength of that.
Build in public, and then, yeah, like you said, build in public and talk about what you do. I mean, somebody is interested at some point in time, so they're going to reach out to you somehow, some way through either of your channels if you talk about it. So that's awesome. That's good. I'm glad to have you on. I mean, you're the first Skills Make You Meals person I've had on in a while, because like I said, I try to get to know people and then, you know, bring them on and talk to them about their business. So thank you very much. Hey, look, you know, to y'all watching this, the links are below. You know, the links are below. So I'm going to put the links to everything. You can follow her, ask her all the questions. I know some folks be in the comments asking me questions like, how do I start a home healthcare? I'm like, I don't know. You got to reach out to her. So all her stuff is going to be in the bio there, so that y'all can reach out to her. So everybody, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Alexandria, thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it. And you know, continue success in your endeavors. Seriously, we're rooting for you.
Thank you so much. And you keep killing it out there yourself. And y'all have a blessed day. And thank you for tuning in.
For sure. All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.